And welcome, Sexy Wookiees, to another episode of the Sexy Wookie Squadcast. I'm Sexy Leader.
Hey, sexy one.
Sexy too.
Let's go.
Yeah. Ending our first book together, guys.
Wow.
This is exciting. We've done a whole book now.
And it's a really good book. I'm very happy, and that's why I'm kind of sad about these last questions, because I just want the book to keep going. It was just so well done.
I know. I'm like, there's so much more that we could have explored and explained, but it really set everything up great. And so yeah, sad to see it go, but what a good time we've had.
Oh yeah, definitely. Are you guys ready?
Let's jump in.
Ready.
All right, so this one's a little bit of a thinker. So out of all three, the planner, the quick thinker, the technician, who would you recruit and why?
Oh, you mean like from the engineer's point of view?
Mm-hmm.
Like if we were already in a position of power, and who do you want? Well,
Yeah.
let's see. Probably the way she goes. Technicians, dime a dozen, and Han a little bit too wily, like unpredictable. But Qi'ra, yeah, that's a person that has the potential to be trained up and be a very, very valuable asset, as she says. But I was like, that's exactly right. Yeah, very valuable asset. So yeah, I agree with Jenra's conclusion there.
I'm gonna go with Han on this one, just because I gotta go with someone who's genuine, real with other people. Like, I like how the author had described when Qi'ra was kind of, still on the fence of whether she was gonna stay or go with the engineer. But she explained how Han was very like how he looked at people as people and not as things. So definitely Han on this one.
See, I feel like Qi'ra is just such a typical answer. And she would be really good. Like Megan said, you can train her, you can build her up. But then as I was reading, I was like, okay, I really like the eagerness that Tsuulo has. I like how he's just so open and just so eager with learning all that stuff. So I was like, okay, well, maybe you can train him up as well and teach him new things, especially, engineer, he's in the tech. It'd be easy. And I feel like I would pick him, and if I couldn't, then I would go with Han, because it would be easy to find people to train like Qi'ra, but someone like him that's just so good with his instincts, I feel like you don't find people like that very often. So he could be a valuable asset.
Good point.
So for me, I'm stuck between those two.
Ah, very interesting.
Ready for the next one?
Yeah.
So how do you think Qi'ra handled the negotiations? Would you have done anything differently when she was negotiating with Lady Proxima?
It's a good thing that the others were there, because they did jump in and add things that were important, that she probably just wasn't even factoring in, because on the scale of the grand scheme of things that she was having to deal with, things like, an extra ration of food or our safe return, she was, that wasn't even on the radar. So it's a good thing they were there and she didn't forget that. Otherwise, I think she did pretty good. I think so. I mean, it's hard to say, because she knows Lady Proxima well enough to kind of know how to talk to her and how to frame things in a way that she'll accept more readily. I liked how it described that she kind of like set the stage and then kind of hinted, but how could it's to get her to actually come up with the idea, so that it would feel like Lady Proxima had thought of it herself. I do that all the time in my job. Like, let me tell you what, if you want somebody to like really embrace the idea that you're suggesting, you lay out exactly the right plan and then go, but how can we connect all these things? And then when they state the obvious thing that you've just laid out, you go, oh, yes, perfect. And then they think it was their idea, and then everybody's on board, and it's great. So I was like, yes, good technique. I like that.
Yeah, I think going back to Lady Proxima was the right thing to do, because they knew she had the connections to make the deal. And again, I don't know of any other way. This question just hits you quick on the fly, but yeah, it played out really well with how reaching back out to her.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have even, I mean, you've set up the question as in dealing with Lady Proxima, did she negotiate correctly? I don't even know if that would have been my plan to begin with. I'd have been like, friggin', let's all of us head to a completely different system, start this whole thing over again, and bid with some, like, we'll go to friggin' Nar Shaddaa or something and talk to the big gangs out that way. Like, enough with the Corellia thing. Like, obviously, they aren't organized enough to have a real auction here. So let's head someplace else and try it out, all of us together. Like, let's go. What do you got to lose by keeping all three of us on board? Like, so the premise from the beginning, I was like, oh, you probably could have come up with something better than going back to that. But,
like,
if that's what it is.
You mean like sell it off-world? Like sell the data cube off-world?
Yeah, go to a completely different system. Go talk to the Hutts. Go talk to Black Sun, or or whatever it's called in canon now, Crimson Dawn. There's tons of other people you can make a deal with. If you've already been made at this location and everybody's aware of what the previous bids were, it's already like, you wouldn't be able to select an unbiased jury, at this kind of place. It's too late. You got to start fresh. You got to start somewhere else. Everybody already knows your game. Like, yeah, if I were the engineer, I wouldn't have even gone back down there and tried to do the same deal twice. So, for starters, no. But since they did, yes, I think she dealt with Lady Proxima very well.
I like that idea about going to the Hutts because they're just so powerful and so well known all around that I'm sure that they could broker something unless they bought it, which, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they did. They're the Hutts. They want to be powerful.
Yeah, there's got to be other guilds out there, with lots of money.
Oh, yeah, plenty of them.
But they were also trying to protect the Corellia territory, right? So you don't want to sell it off to the Hutts, and then eventually the Hutts are the ones that control Corellia using that kind of tech,
Well, whoever it gets sold to, the kids didn't have any say in that.
Yeah. And it wouldn't have necessarily been to protect Corellia, but I think more to just protect like the little people in general. I think that was the point that they were making.
Yeah.
But I mean, no matter whose hands it goes in, it's a 50-50 chance of it being good or bad. Kind of like in The Last Jedi when DJ was like, look, this person sells to both sides and you just never know.
Well, and I mean, it's like in this book where they thought, oh, well, the droid just got this great cause, so they should have it. They deserve it. It's for a good reason. And
ready for the next one?
Go for it.
So would you have taken Genra's offer to be trained?
I knew this was going to be a question.
Why or why not? Okay, Megan, what other question would there be for that?
I mean, I read this and I was like, I know what she's going to ask. I was like, okay, I better start preparing this answer because heck, yes, I would have taken that deal. Are you kidding me? What kind of moron? I was like, Qi'ra, my girl, come on. Like, you even laid it out. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're locked in for life. You take what you need, you learn what you need, and then you freaking jump ship and you go do something else. Like, what good are you going to do sticking with your friends if you're all back into a no-win situation trapped on this planet? Like, even if you said, oh, you know, I'm loyal to my friends, freaking be loyal to them by going with this chick and getting this experience and this power and this influence and whatever else you're going to do and learn when you get out there, and then come back for them. Like, next time a job opens up on the ship, be like, I know a guy, go pick up Han and Tsuulo. Like,
So I guess counter question to that, remember how Qi'ra said she didn't want to be an asset, she wanted to be a person. Would you be okay if you took Jenra's offer? Would you be okay not being seen as a person?
Absolutely. Like, there's where does she think she's gonna go where she immediately jumps in at an entry-level position and is respected and seen as a person? Like, that is too picky. If you're coming from the White Worms, you're 18 years old and this is the first and only and great opportunity that's been offered to you. You can't be like, oh, well, my dignity prevents me. Come on. Like, you put up with it for a year or two, if even that, a few months if you have to, until you get to another system and see another company or another group that you like better. Like, clearly her people are well taken care of. She may call them assets, but she hired people and provided them with the equipment to go bust one of them out of prison. Like, it did not compute to me. I was like, just because it treats them that way, you've been treated that way everywhere, and you know that that's how the galaxy works. Where do you think you're going to go that's not going to be the case off the bat? Like, you've already been with these two guys for how many years now, and you're only just now seeing their humanity. So, like, clearly it takes a while to build up that level of relationship between your shipmates, your comrades, your teammates. So I don't know why she expected that, you know, it wasn't worth it just because of how she would be talked to. Like, it did not make sense to me. I don't know. I was waiting for like a better reason from her, and that was just it. And I was like, personally, I would have been like, yeah, it's still worth it.
How about you, Ronald?
Yeah, I agree and sort of disagree with that. I agree in the sense that, yes, if you want to be successful, you take this opportunity because it was a once in a lifetime. That's it. You know, whatever. If you didn't take it, she didn't take it. So you lost your chance, kind of thing, right? So you got to look out for those little things in life that bring you that opportunity. And yeah, you're not. So I guess you don't know what Genra, the engineer, is really going to be like. You don't know how they're going to treat you, but to grow in life, you have to, you know, I always say, like, you always got to level up. Like, she could have totally leveled up. And that's where I agree with you. But for the book sense, for the feeling sense of it, Qi'ra never felt family. And this was her first chance to have that type of family. And you know, you love that story because, like, if you grew up like, you know, you didn't have siblings, or you grew up on your own kind of thing, or, you know, I think she was just looking for, I don't want to be by myself anymore. Now I have this type of team, or, you know, these type of friends and this family that I want to stay with them because I'm interested, I'm curious. So you go back. But was the question was, which would you choose?
So would you
What you would
accept the
have
offer
done?
or not?
Accept.
Let's see. So if I were, yeah, I would have to probably go with the engineer on this one. I'm these days, like, you got to go out into the world. You got to go out into the space by yourself. um, and not necessarily that you know that it's never gonna things are never gonna be the same again. Like you said, Megan, like you can always jump back and be like, I know a pilot, I know the perfect technician for this job. Like you can go back to get them, but yeah, if life, you know, if life's gives you that opportunity today, you gotta attack it and take it. So I'm gonna be opposite of Qi'ra, and I'm gonna attack it. I'm gonna take it. Hey, I probably, if I was living in Corellia and I've never seen a Wookiee, I would love to be able to pilot with a Wookiee. I would love to learn new things, the things they wanted to do. You're right. Like we're on this ship, right? Like
Mhm.
the Tsuulo found a Rhodian,
Yes,
like his
exactly.
species
And it's like you
was
said, that
there.
it was the first time that she had experienced kind of a feeling of family with her team.
Mhm,
But notice how these crew members immediately embraced these kids.
mhm,
Like immediately took them under their wing and were showing them things and teaching them things and chattering and getting along. Like this clearly, this team, this the engineers crew had this same type of family relationship when the Wookiee came back and he was hugging everybody. Like this wasn't an organization where everybody felt like a piece of utility. Like
mhm,
it was
mhm.
clearly like another family type gang. And I don't know why she didn't think she'd be able to find that there.
If your family really loves you in the end of the day, they should be willing to let you go. So for Han and Sulu, if you really love that person, you can't like, and I think that's why Han was very, you know, he restrict himself to really like say, hey, stay with us, and you know, just stay quiet, you know, thinking she was going to join them. I think like, yeah, if your family really loves you, they should not hold you back,
Hold you back.
because you have to get to that. You have to level up. She, like Qi'ra, needed to level up.
So mine's a little bit complicated. You know, you made a good point about the crew would treat each other like family, and I definitely saw that. But Genra gave me a bad feeling. I was
Mm.
pulling a Han, and I was like, something in my gut is just not right. And then, you know, Rue and everyone else, they were happy with each other. They were hugging. They were so good with the kids. But then Genra was just always kind of aloof with them, and she just the way she just kept saying like asset, and I was like, okay, so if I were to accept this lady could dispose of me at any second if I even so much as look at her in a way that she doesn't like. She can act all friendly right now in front of everyone, but then the second we're alone, you don't know what she's really like. You don't know what her intentions are. And so I may find family within the crew, but that doesn't guarantee my safety, or who knows, what if she trains her, or what if she trains us and then later on she's like, sorry, basically indentured servant, you ain't leaving. I provide you this, so you have to stay, you know? So you guys talked about like, oh, she could leave at any time. And it's like, well, what if that's not the case? How's she gonna leave? She can't fly, she can't pilot. Who's gonna help her leave?
Probably easier to escape from than the white worms, though. And it
Maybe.
sounds like the same exact situation. You're just an indentured servitude that's completely expendable and constantly being lied to, except you get better food and clothes. So
At
I
least
still think it's a step up,
with
even
the
if
white worms, you
General
can
was worse.
escape on the planet, but if you're stuck on the red nimbus, you're in the middle of freaking space. There's nowhere for you to go. At least you can escape somewhere on Corellia, maybe take ship somewhere else. So I'm gonna go with I would not take the offer just because my gut says something is amiss about this. Something is just weird. So
Yeah, you totally make sense there, because Qi'ra probably looked at it like, oh, Han has his place here, Sulu has his place here, but where's my place? If my place is only with this engineer, I only get along with the engineer and not, you know, nobody else. And so maybe she really didn't feel that type of family with the engineer. Maybe she finds Lady Proxima a more mother figure than Genra the engineer. And so, yeah, we know how it plays out. So yeah, I'll leave it at that for later.
Well, and I thought that too, kind of, because it was when we were in Qi'ra's thoughts, there was a lot of specifically admiring things about Genra, and Genra was talking to Qi'ra like, I see a lot of myself in you, and so they were very alike, and it could have almost eventually turned into a threat, because Qi'ra wasn't a perfect fit to replace an assistant or a pilot or a technician or something. She was very much like the leader of this operation herself, and if she ever became too ambitious, she could be a threat to Genra. So she would constantly be watching her, probably, and not ever trusting her too much.
Anyway, with Han and Tsuulo, it's not that she was looking for family in them, it's just she gradually learned to trust them, and she felt good and comfortable with them. So I think, with the engineer and all that, I don't think she's looking for family or anything maternal. I think she just wants to survive. That's the whole thing she kept saying the whole book. Survival, survival, survival. So I don't think it matters if Lady Proxima or Genra were motherly or not. I just think she's looking for the best chances of survival. And then, like Megan pointed out, the engineer saw a lot of her and Qi'ra, and that's kind of what I was thinking as to why, I wouldn't have accepted if I were her, because at some point she could be like, you know what, you're just too much like me. I'm done with you. Goodbye. And then they're out in space. She can't escape. Unlike on Corellia, she could go to some other part of the planet.
No, and I think also, come on, Kira's falling for Han. We all know it.
I ship it. My OTP.
We already know.
Gave it all up for a boy.
Oh, gross.
My girl, what you doing?
Do you think the engineer could have just been like, dump him?
Dump him. You could do better.
I like she's like, the galaxy is full of cute boys. I was like, I love Genra so much.
That was amazing. That's such a cool aunt.
I know.
Imagine you're hanging out with your cool aunt. She's like, don't worry. There's a bunch of other cute guys out there. Don't worry about it.
The galaxy's full of them. I love her. Like, every time they saw her, like, it's breakfast. They come out, she's drinking wine in her gown. I'm like, oh, this is my girl.
This alcoholic always has a wine in her hand.
I was like, I would so be on this crew.
She's drinking doesn't mean you can't.
All the time. I don't know what you're talking about.
Before we move forward, what would our characters play in Genra's team gang?
Stylist and sommelier, probably.
Well, I mean, I think also Megan's the tactician, as they use that word as for Qi'ra, tactician. So I think she'd be a tactician as well.
Yeah, she's good at thinking, I guess. We're exploring it. Trying to figure out what she's good at. Not much.
Practice, little by little.
And for Meena?
That's hard. I mean, I feel like Meena is really good at being in the background. She's really good at being a wallflower. So if she has to, she can step up. She's good at that. She's good at talking. But I think she prefers to let other people do the talking first. So, for example, if she were paired up with Mey-Gon, Mey-Gon would do the talking. She'd be the tactician. She'd be the negotiator. And Meena would just be in the background, step in when she needs to, and she would just observe everything. And kind of like, how Qi'ra likes to commit things to memory. So Meena would kind of do that. So she would kind of be like a plan B, I guess. So she's good at her stealth and her fighting and whatnot. And I think she prefers to let other people do the talking first. Not that she can't do it, but she'd rather jump in when needed and just spend the time observing.
Well, I'll tell you what, Relix would be on this one. Relix would definitely be a servant boy on this. I'd probably want to be a cook. I'd be one of the cooks on the ship.
Oh, shoot.
It's like, breakfast is ready.
Do the
I'd have,
accents. Do the accents.
I would have one
Bring out those
weird,
slugs.
like a weird way of, my clothes wouldn't be that great.
God. I'm sure she would dress you just fine.
Yeah,
Oh
definitely.
no. I thought he would be the DJ on the party deck, you know?
Oh, that'd be cool too. That would be cool too.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I was-
like this ship's got like running lights and rim spinners or who knows what. This is a nice yacht. They've got to have a party deck.
It's a yacht. That's exactly what
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah, I was thinking Relix would be DJ, or he would like do some cool like coding technician stuff since he's good at splicing.
Yeah, maybe like no. I would think more of like he would
Servant boy.
like if you were to have like that type of job, it would probably be like, I don't know, tractor beam
What?
type of technician kind of thing. I don't know. Give me a gunner position. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
That'd be cool for Relix. Do something different than his his other line of work. Or perks. All right. Sorry to sidetrack us all.
Oh, now I got to design our outfits.
All right, guys, are you ready to get real depressed?
Let's do
Oh,
it.
I knew
Now-
this was coming.
So now that we know why Tsuulo isn't in solo, how upset are you? Just legit, how upset are you about what happened?
I mean, come on. We all knew it was going to happen. But it didn't make it any easier. I think I literally yelled, "No!" out loud. Scared my cat. Probably startled the neighbors. And then I started crying. And it was a big mess. I was very upset. I was like, oh, he deserved better.
Such a sad moment. As I read it, I probably had the same reaction as you as well, as just no kind of thing.
No.
But then I started I kind of paused at that point because I can't remember what chapter that was, probably either 21 or
20.
But I remember pausing for a moment and realizing that Tsuulo is such a, he's a Jedi as well. As much as he says it's, you want to think of him as the Qi'ra kind of type of character. Like at the end of the day, I think he was the Jedi of the group, because that's what Jedi do. So I went to looking back at what Obi-Wan did for Luke, Kanan for Ezra, and all of the the Ghost crew. Jedi are somebody who give their life up for their team. Some survive, and some have to sacrifice their life. I think it's part of the one of the Jedi lessons is sacrificing your own life so that your group, your team will go on. It's very Jedi-like. And it made me...
He didn't sacrifice himself. He just died, which made it so much sadder.
I mean, but he was in the cross line of it, and because Han wanted to really, he's like, I'm gonna carry you out of here.
Yeah,
Body,
he told them
everything.
leave me, take the data pad, go.
It's like he gave him the tools to survive.
Mm-hmm.
Very Jedi-like, and so it really, it got to me at that point where I'm like, Jedi. I understand why we do this now, and it always the lesson in the movies, in the cartoons, I mean animated, or anything, books. Like I always wondered, why is it Jedi always sacrificing themselves for? And I think it's a lesson not only for the Jedi themselves, but it's a lesson the whole team can take on. And if they understand what sacrifice was made, the group understands why the mission has to go on. Like, even though this person gave her life for us, we have to keep pushing through for them. Again, it's so life realistic to be in that sense, because we do things in our own lives where people who have passed on, we still keep going no matter what. But it's those lessons that we've learned along the way is how we keep pushing forward. And we got to keep going and going. And that's why the rebels, the good guys, the light side, the force keeps going beyond that, that push.
Yeah, and they do take his last wishes to heart, because he told Han, like, you have to believe you can do it. He gave him the data pad, and like, he didn't know how to use that thing, and he said all you gotta do is just believe you can do it, and then he did, and it worked. So it's like, they honored his everything he believed in and the way that he believed in them.
No, man, can we just go right back to, I'm just gonna touch on the Jedi, and that's it for me. Like, that's what it was for me at that point when he just said just believe. Like, that's all you have to do every day in life, is just believe in what you do, man. And like that got my juices flowing with the Jedi again. I'm just like, all right, yo, just believe every day.
I get really attached to characters, and I get really upset when they die, especially like he was, if he would have used his body as a shield or something, I would have been like, okay, that's fine. That's
like if he'd done it on purpose.
But then no, he just was freaking shot. And I was like, okay, Rae Carson, break my heart. Break my heart. Okay. And so I'm just like, oh my God. So that's why I legit just put, how upset are you? For the question, how upset are you?
And like,
I was upset.
It was, she couldn't even just be like, oh, and there was a blaster wound. No, man, there's like a hole, and his stomachs are out, there's blood all over the data pad and everything. I was like,
for me, it's the smell. It was the smell for me.
I will say I appreciate how she wrote it, because even though there were details, it was still quick. They had to leave quick. She wrote it quick. Back to that word, efficient. So that's why, even though I was heartbroken, at the same time I was like, this is really well done, because, in a matter of life or death, like they were in, you can't spend forever mourning and holding the body and whatever. So she made it quick, just like it would be in a situation like that. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Like, this is really well done. Like, I really feel like I'm there, and I feel like I'm watching Han just trying to stay in Qi'ra's like, we gotta go, and I was like, oh God, I felt it.
Yeah, and every time that they move on a little bit, something else they, because a lot of times this kind of thing will happen. Somebody will die, and then they're just on to the next thing, and then maybe later they'll mourn them or something like this. But they're still trying to get out, and at every step they get to the thing, they're plugging in the door, and then Han freezes because he can't see the data pad because it's covered in blood, and it's like, like it just doesn't stop. Every step there's something that reminds them. Oh, it's so sad.
So sad, but super well done.
Oh, really well done.
All right, ready for the next one?
I almost brought a prop, like a lighter or something, so that we could have a little memorial. And then I was like, should I put a trash can so I could pour some out for Tsuulo? But I was like, no, I don't want to.
Flashlight on your phone and.
Oh, I know, we could do that.
Yeah, just do that.
And I love him, but I'm not gonna waste wine. I'll have an extra drink for Tsuulo.
Just have a shot for him. You're fine.
That's right. In memory.
So guys, what did you think of that double cross? Were you expecting that at all?
Which one?
Mm-hmm.
The word she blew up the Caldana Syndicate?
Oh, okay. That one? No, because I didn't think they would follow them, first of all. So the double cross, when they first got onto the ship, yes, I was like, oh man, this lady's gonna let them go onto the ship with these people who obviously can't be trusted. So I was like, that's bad news to begin with. So wasn't surprised when they tried to get him right after the deal was done. But as soon as they got away, and then the ship showed back up, I was like, now how are they gonna get out of this? So that did surprise me, that she came back. And then I was thinking about it, and I was like, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Because, well, I mean, I guess if she's just going into retirement, otherwise her reputation as a seller of things is shot. Nobody's going to make a deal with her because she's going to turn around and, blow you up for, $25, you know, like, after you've made a deal. Like, you can't be going around doing stuff like that. Like, you're never gonna have any kind of relationship with anybody after this. Nobody's gonna trust you. You're never gonna be able to sell a thing again, ever. So I was like, why would she do that? But I guess if she's just going to retire after this, like going out to live somewhere, then it doesn't matter. But
I mean, no one but the droid Gotcha would even know that she double-crossed them. So any other potential seller would just, or buyer would just be like, okay, cool, let's do this. They wouldn't actually know. No one saw but her crew haunting Qi'ra.
I guess, but it's still suspicious circumstances. You made a deal, they come out, they meet you on the way back, they get mysteriously exploded. Like, who else was there? I don't know. Yeah, I was surprised. I was very surprised.
I was expecting some kind of betrayal, and I'm pleasantly surprised that it was something like that, because it was small, but at the same time significant. So when the Caldana was like, oh, we have to kill you, I was like, this isn't even a betrayal. They've been trying to kill them for how many days?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Like, when I wrote the question, like, I didn't even think about that as a betrayal. I was like, that was just bound to happen with or without General's warning. I was like, that's whatever. But then when it turned out that she killed them, I was like, I'm pleasantly surprised, because there is a betrayal. There had to have been. It's Star Wars. But it was something so insignificant, or rather something so small that she just blew up a ship. But it does have, you know, such a big impact. And she did it for so cheap, and I was like, oh, this is dirty. I kind of love it, because Caldana were trash.
It's kind of it was kind of funny, because at first you don't know why she did it, and so you think it's because, oh, she liked them. And so I was like, that just seems so weird that she would get sentimental enough to jeopardize her business dealings and her reputation because she just liked them. Like, so when we finally find out that it was because she'd gotten an offer and money, I was like, oh, okay, that makes it better. I'd do it for that much. Yeah.
When I was reading that and they were like, oh, maybe she's doing it to protect us, I was like, oh, that'd be really cool. And then I was thinking, wait, what if they don't even notice the escape pod and she just legit did not care if they were still on the ship or not, and she's just like, screw it, blow it up.
She totally didn't care.
So that's why for a second I was like, oh my god, maybe she did care. And I was like, that big giant ship, you know, maybe the escape pod could be on the radar or whatever, but how is she for sure gonna know or not if they're still on the ship or not? So that's why I was like, she just didn't care. She was just gonna blow them up either way.
Yeah.
And I thought she just did it for the money she already had. And then when I read that it was for more money, I was like, that's smart.
All good.
Fine.
All right, guys. So overall thoughts and feelings on the book, story, everything and anything. This is your free space and time.
Oh, I'm gonna go on this because I'm gonna be short.
Go for it.
This is the Star Wars story I'm glad I read in a book. You know, these are the types of stories you want to see in movies, types of stories you want to see in the animated series, in all of Star Wars is this type of story, this type of writing. But yeah, it portrayed to everything. Like I said, when it's Star Wars, you can't have something. You can't have one thing out. You have to have all your elements, from droids to lightsabers to Jedis to smugglers to the Imperials to everybody, anything and everything. You have to have it. And this book really, like, you really, Rae really showed the use of all those elements, all those, you know, characters, even new characters. But for me, I'll just like to go back. Like, for me, it hit close to home on that Qi'ra and Han quote at the very end, or even before they had just said it. You got to find the one person that you can trust, and then that's the person, you know, you can fly with. And
oh, you learned a lesson.
I did.
No, I think what you said is really important, and it didn't even occur to me because it just happened so naturally. It just worked so organically with the story, but it did. It shoved in every familiar Star Wars element that you would expect to see. You know, your underworlds, your Force users, your Empire, all this kind of stuff. So it felt very Star Wars, and yet it was such a contained story. They really never even went to a different planet. They went from one city on one planet to a spaceship and back. So it's not even like we got to jump around the whole galaxy, and yet you felt like you were in a story that was part of a bigger galaxy where so many things were going on and there were stakes, and it felt big and yet centered on such small characters. You got orphans that live in a sewer, and like they're impacting this big story. So I don't know, it was, yeah, it captured that, and that's very Star Wars. That's, you take the kid from nowhere and you throw him into a big adventure. And so it had that. So it felt Star Wars. I liked the characters. I liked the character arcs. So where they were at the beginning is not where they ended up at the end. And watching them slowly develop into those characters was so satisfying. And I'll tell you what, like, Tsuulo, God bless Rae, this character. I loved him. And I felt more when he died than I did for any character in Rogue One, any friggin' Kylo Ren, anything. Like, this, I was like, oh, see, she made him so, like, valuable and likable, and gave him a backstory, and you cared about him and all this. Oh, yeah. So mission accomplished. It was a great story. It was a great setup to the movie that comes after it. I would have liked to have figured out where those stupid dice come from, for crying out loud.
Right.
I thought for sure they would make an appearance in this book, and they didn't. So that was my one question that I was left with at the end. I was like, no dice? Question mark. I wrote it down. Other than that, I was absolutely satisfied. I liked the story. I liked the characters. I liked the Star Wars-ness of it. Well done.
I really, really enjoyed this book. Her, like we keep saying, her writing is very efficient, and I like how much was in the story, but at the same time, it's not like it was a bunch of overwhelming details. Everything just fit so perfectly. The flow was so well done, and I really felt like I was there with them. Like, I could picture everything just perfectly. I could hear their voices. I could see their faces, and I just felt so good reading it. And then at the very end, can we just talk about, is this a date? Oh my gosh. I screamed. I was like, yes.
You mean you squeed?
Squeed! No, I screamed. I was like, oh my gosh.
So cute.
I'd freak out when I read, and you know, these poor dogs hate me. But I just thought it was really cute, and I was like, oh my gosh, because you know, by Solo they're in a relationship, but I like how in the book it was kind of like a slow burn. I was like, this is perfect. And then even at the end, they're not necessarily together, but it's like, hey, there's some feelings, and I was like, this felt so slow good.
That the farthest they get is they're holding hands, and I was just like, oh.
Oh, that was the cutest. I was like,
so sweet. So sweet.
But I mean, just overall, this was so well done. I want to read her other books, including Rise of Skywalker, even though that movie literally shattered me because it was so disappointing. But her writing,
if Rae can do it,
yeah,
and I mean Rae Carson, not Rae Skywalker, but I would read the novelization.
I really want to, because her writing is just so well done in this book. Like, this is definitely a book I will reread again in the future. I'll definitely reread it because it was just so well done. Like, I love the character. You either really love the characters or you really hate them because they're just that well written.
Yeah. And I gotta say, good. Like, I watched Solo last night for the first time in since the first time I ever saw it. So that tells you how much I remembered while reading this book. And watching the opening, I was like, oh, I know who that is, and I know what that's all about, and I know how this kind of meeting is supposed to go. And she's like, you're late, and I'm like, oh, he's always late. Like, so it's such a good setup. So if you haven't rewatched at least the opening of Solo again since reading this, just watch the beginning, and it's like it just builds the world so much more.
And like you guys said, she encompassed everything really well. And what I liked about the mentions of the Force was so, you know, like especially in that time, people would still be talking about Jedi and whatnot. And I liked that he wasn't a Jedi. He was just a religious guy. And I was like, I appreciate that, especially, you know, in times like that when people are pretty split on religion. I was like, I'm a religious person, but I hang out with a lot of people that aren't. So it was nice seeing that interaction of, you know, they humored him, but they didn't make fun of him or anything. So I really appreciated just seeing, you know, kind of the back and forth, I guess you would say. And I liked the Force was mentioned, but it wasn't shoved down your throat. He wasn't a Jedi. He's not Force sensitive. He's just a believer. And I was like, I like that because it still keeps that overall theme with the Force that everyone knows about, but it's not the focus of the book. There's so many other things going on.
And it could still be ambiguous. Was he using the Force or not? Like, was it luck?
The way she did write it, I like that it does leave that open to interpretation, because you guys are saying like, oh yeah, he might be a Force user, and I read it as he's not, he's just a believer. And so I really like that she left that open for people to decide for themselves. And I thought that was really refreshing. And honestly, I love the Star Wars books that I've read. I'm excited for the future ones. This one was just very refreshing because it just felt so different. It just felt really different, and I really, really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So, Megan, do you want to announce what we're reading next?
Oh, right. So, if you would like to join us on our next reading adventure, we are diving way, way back into Legends territory of the EU. And we're going to read the first book in the X-Wing series called Rogue Squadron. So we'll make an announcement about which chapters we are going to be starting out with, and then that will be our first reading and discussion for next week. I am so excited to get back into some X-Wings and read about my boy Wedge and that whole gang. Like, oh yes, we're taking it back old school to the books of my childhood. So yes, join us on this adventure.
As always, thanks for joining in. Any thoughts, comments, answer your questions, make sure to put those in the comments. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the book and, you know, any predictions for the next book.
And like always, thank you for your support. All
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Great time reading. Thanks, everybody. Sexy Wookiees out.
Sexy
Wookiees.